Let's take a look at the Gordon Hayward travels. This is exactly the reception I know that Eric Pincus gets when he goes to cities, right? No? Not as much? You got signs, of course, in Miami. They welcomed him at Fenway. You got the Stayward in Utah. So clearly, DA, they're rolling out the red carpet. Boston meeting today, meeting with management tomorrow. Where are we now with the Hayward situation, and is there a leader in the race?
Well, again, I think it could be any one of these three teams because they each have a compelling story to tell Gordon Hayward. Boston's story today is, hey, we won 50 games. We're an up-and-coming team. We've got young players that are on the way up that need leadership and guidance, but we've also got vets that you can learn from and that you can play alongside. And we've got a future in terms of draft picks. So that's a compelling story. Miami's story is, hey, we've rebuilt this thing very quickly. We're ready. You're the last piece. And Utah's story is, hey, stay home. We re-signed Joe Ingles the other night. You know us. You're comfortable with us. We're growing together. Stay home. So there's not a bad choice for Gordon Hayward here as he makes his decisions.
DA, everybody talks about the heartstrings, of course, with Brad Stevens. I'm curious, change at the point in Utah. Rubio seems to be a guy who really the rest of this team would fit well with. You've got Gobert, who's growing. You bring back Ingles. How much do you get the sense that Gordon Hayward liked the Rubio move? I know that there was talk about the relationship with George Hill, who won't be there anymore.
Well, look, I think he was close to George Hill, but it's not like they just ceded that position. They went out and got Ricky Rubio, who is a very good veteran point guard, who does a lot of things, not the shooter maybe that you would want, but he will pass the ball, wants to pass the ball. That's his strength, and a better defender probably than most people think. So I think from that standpoint, yeah, he's not happy that George Hill is leaving, but they didn't leave the cupboard bare. They brought in a very solid point guard to replace him, and they were able to re-sign Joe Ingles. So going forward, I think that they can make a strong case that we've kept as much of this team together as we possibly could, and now we want to pay you.
All right, hang tight for a second. We're going to get to Paul Millsap in a minute, but I want to get into here with our capologist, Eric Pincus, because when you look at the three teams, Miami to me is in an interesting situation. Tell me if I'm wrong, because obviously we know Utah can offer a lot of money, more money to bring him back. Boston's got that one spot, but Miami, do they have maneuvering where they could say to Gordon, hey, look, we bring you in, maybe we're not done after
Kind of. It depends on James Johnson. So they don't have his rights. And he was really tremendous for them. So they actually need to move someone like Josh McRoberts. I think they can. They're really clever in Miami with the cap. They manipulate it about as well as anybody. So if they can find a home for McRoberts, you give away a second-round pick and some cash, something like that. That opens up a little bit of room. They could also, there are players on there that, there's one guy I'm name-dropping, but basically they have the flexibility to maneuver just enough to get $12 million, something like that, to someone else. Maybe $18 million. The problem is Dion Waiters. That was the name. I was thinking, how do you get Dion Waiters back? And so he may be the casualty of getting Gordon Hayward. So if you're talking about Miami, they can put something nice together. But can they put something tremendous together, like another max guy? That's not in the equation.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting at home, I think, to think about, we'll talk about here with the guys in a second, is the fact that now you could free up space by tying picks to guys. We saw that. Nobody thought, let me tell you, but here a year ago on set, that Mozgov deal, we thought he'd be living in L.A. for quite a long time, and now he'll be nearby in Brooklyn. So, guys, let's talk about this and kind of where we stand. And I want to take it, let's go on the court basketball-wise from both of you. Still, I'll start with you. Impact on the floor. Where is it most? Where he vaults Boston, what he does with Utah, or maybe how much he changes the way you look at Miami?
Well, listen, if I'm Gordon Hayward, the player, I'm looking at this evaluation of where I land based on where I'm going to be happy in terms of where I fit and style of play. You've got the comfortability factor in Utah, plus I make more money, but you're going to be there without George Hill, which I think is a huge factor. You can go to Boston. And in Boston, you're in a system whereby it's predicated on, moving the basketball, moving bodies around, seemingly with the culture of that team, nobody really cares who gets the credit, and you're going back to your old collegiate coach. In Miami, you're perhaps running into a situation where, as Eric said, you may not have Dion Waiters. That's a possibility, but even if you do, you've got two guys in Dragic and Dion Waiters that need the ball in their hand. That would be a consideration for me if I'm Gordon Hayward. And at the end of the day, it's a tough choice to make. But in his case, like most free agents don't have, he has no bad choices in this case. But to me, it's a question of where and how he fits on the floor.
You know, I was joking yesterday, Smitty, Pat Riley, nobody rolls out the red carpet like Pat. First of all, you're going to listen to him, but he brought Zoe. Everybody who's ever worn a Heat uniform seemingly was waiting for Gordon Hayward. Are you surprised that they're in the three? I mean, a lot of us thought he's either going to go back to Utah or he'll go back to Brad Stevens. Do you see Miami really as a suitor here?
You know, I never count out Pat Riley. And one thing is for him, he does a great job. And like Eric said, they do one of the best jobs of being able to work the numbers in the cap. They're fantastic. Andy Ellsberg does a nice job in Miami. I look at them and you can also make up a little bit money with no income tax down there, no state income tax. But I'm with Stu. I think best fit basketball-wise, if you throw away the money, to me is the Boston Celtics. I think for him is he doesn't know Ricky Rubio. And I think if I'm Gordon Hayward, I'm looking at Utah saying, can we compete in the West right now? Can I be an all-star in the West? Would you have Paul George and Jimmy Butler coming over? I think the best fit for him is maybe being even the first option, second option, and win games is the Boston Celtics. I know Brad Stevens. I know how he used me in college. I've watched him play. I think that's the best fit for him.
And they got a sales pitch. He did say, though, in an interview many years ago, he doesn't like Tom Brady. So hopefully they didn't bring him to the meeting. He's a Colts fan. He's a Colts fan, I think, was the reasoning in all that.